deep, unfiltered, soulful conversations with Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, Reverend Kim Andrews, and Reverend Melinda Wood Allen.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Join us for real talk on real issues. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock Mountain. And now, let's join the Real Talk Sisters.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Hello. I'm back.
Yeah, she's back.
It seems like it's been so long. It has been. It's been 3 weeks.
Like
Bob had a doctor's appointment, and then I was out of town 2 Tuesdays in a row, and not where I had Wi-Fi access. So,
yay for you!
I'm
glad.
glad.
A real break.
Yeah, it was. It was a break from certain things, and it was a I don't know what's the word for it. A glut
awakening. What do you call it?
I said there was a break from some things and a glut of other things. It was good.
It's good to have you back, sister. Good to have you back.
I missed y'all.
Yeah, we missed you too. We did.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about some things, and we're like, well, maybe we should wait till Melinda gets. She's gonna have a lot to say about this subject. So
I know I have a lot to say about every subject. Never at a loss for words.
Hey, we're ministers. None of us are ever at a loss.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Of the three of us, no. So, so for those of you who haven't been with us recently, I'm Reverend Melinda Wood Allen from the Church of One Love in Dallas, Texas.
And I'm Reverend Dr.
So I was.
What'd you say?
Down. I was going to say I've been on sabbatical for a little while, so I was out of town the last couple of weeks, which I'm so grateful that my husband has been well enough for me to be able to be gone for the 10 days that I was gone, and I came back and he's doing pretty darn well. So yay!
We got no calls, so we assumed no incident. Yeah, beautiful.
I had spies on him the whole time.
Of course you did.
His daughter, our son-in-law. Yeah.
You can't go out of town unless you know you're going to hear immediately how things are going. You know, there's a comfort level. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So my name is Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, and I am the Senior Minister of Harmony Spiritual Center here in Fort Worth. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show.
And I'm Kim Andrews, Spiritual Leader at Unity Spiritual Center in Saxe, Texas. And it's good to be here. Good to have the trio together.
Yay!
Yeah.
So today we are talking about shifting, releasing, discovering, empowering paradigms.
Yes.
Say it 20 times fast.
Empowering paradigms.
Yeah. And this is a topic that's on my mind a lot now, because and the incident isn't recent, but just how your life shifts and how things open you up and have you realize and recognize and look at your behaviors, like why is this important to me? How did I get to? Because it's an evolving life. It's an evolving life, and sometimes it evolves where you want it to, where you appreciate it, you love it, it's the life you want, and sometimes it's evolving someplace else, and you wonder, how did I get here? Why is this okay for me to be in this space or to behave in this way? And so to take a look at the paradigms that we're living under, which is just a framework or just a system of rules or thoughts or beliefs that we're living under and that we're moving through the world with. When those paradigms come from different places, from the world, the collective consciousness, from the family of origin, from your community, from so many places, that are not necessarily our rules or our real thinking, but they're just there. And so when they're no longer working, or when it's time for you to move someplace else, they're either no longer working and holding you back, or they're keeping you. There's something else that's needing to emerge, and you're having a difficult time with it emerging because of some thought you have about this particular thing, your role as a woman. Who knows what it is? But these are the things that we're going to be talking about today. The reason why paradigms are important for us to look at and to wonder, to think about which ones we're working under, which ones are working for us, and which ones don't. Because we can always reshape that. We can change our mind at any time that we recognize that that's what that is. Yeah.
It's like a paradigm is like your operating system that got installed, or more like maybe your software, not your hardware. But
yes.
But if you don't know that it's working there in the background and it just always shows up as your default, there's very little you can do about it. You don't know you have choice until you know that there's a choice.
Right.
But as soon as you take a look at it, wait a minute, this is what I always do. Why do I always do this? Does it serve me? Do I like it? Do I like myself when I do it? Yeah.
Exactly.
So we get to uninstall.
Yeah, we do.
It can take a while. It can, it can be difficult. And yet the payoff can be extremely rich.
Exactly.
I know that when I, especially when I started meditating maybe 30 years ago, now that I start thinking about that, 30 years ago, I became incredibly more self-aware. And so all of a sudden, I may not be doing anything in particular, but a thought would come up and I'd think, where did that come from? Because that seems, like you said, is my default. Or I hear myself repeating something that came from my family. And I wonder, where did that thought come from? What is that seems to be a paradigm for my family? And it would just kind of go, that's interesting. I'm back at that again.
Yeah.
And as I become more self-aware and I start questioning, and as I got more familiar with unity principles, I would think, I have the power to change this. I don't have to stick with that. And it probably doesn't matter where it came from. All I know is I have the power to change it. And then I'd start thinking about, well, what do I really want? What to be my experience of this and other things? Like we were talking last week, Pjae, I think, when I said, my family's mantra was, just wait for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
And I think, okay, why do we always say that? That was something my parents said a lot. If you had too much joy, wait for the other shoe to drop because it's coming.
Right.
So you couldn't get too happy. And I think, why can't I get too happy? Why is there a too happy?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Happy? And what is that about?
Yeah.
And it was really about that we never want to be disappointed, but we know we're going to be disappointed because that's how life is. Exactly. Well, that was their paradigm about life. And I decided I wanted a different one. I didn't want to live like that. And so I had to start releasing that. First, making that choice, right? I don't have to keep that paradigm. I can make up my own story.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Bob and I had a long talk yesterday about, I've been advocating for him during a kind of long-standing health crisis, and things are getting better. And there are certain things that his doctors have recommended that he do as lifestyle changes. And I recognize that I have a default setting that I know why. I know what it is. I know how it is. I know what's best. And therefore, it must be my job to tell you, because you don't seem to know.
You don't seem to understand.
You don't seem
to know. You don't
know
know what I know.
And I keep telling you, and you're not doing it. So I need to tell you louder, stronger, in a different way. I need to write it down versus saying it. I need to sing it rather than writing it down, whatever, Yeah. And
big banner in the sky, something.
Big banner. Skywriting. So one of the things I really recognized is I don't like myself when I am in that mode.
Oh, I love that.
Of making myself right and someone else wrong.
Yeah.
And of saying things over and over again to an adult who has the power to make his own choices, whether they agree with what I think they should be or not.
Correct.
And that's been like something that I've been conscious of. And we had this talk yesterday about really bringing it forth as a conscious thing between us, that if he wants advice from me on how to do certain things, or information on what his doctor means when he says a certain thing or whatever, a lot of this is about nutrition. And I just do know a lot more about nutrition than he does. Right. But, and if you have a question about that, I am here and I will always answer. Right. But I'm done telling you what to do and what not to do.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. One of the things for me with telling other people is that we're telling other people. And so there's a, you think about it when somebody's telling you something, there's an automatic
I know.
pullback. It's an auto, even if it's the
I know.
best of intentions, you know, they love
I
you.
don't want anybody to tell me what to do.
Right? And so what? And so even if, pardon. So even if it's good advice, if you didn't ask for it, it's really being set up for you not to be able to receive it.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way it is. I mean, that's just life, and that's the way it is. And the other thing that I talk about a lot, it's so important to me to understand, is from, and I don't want to put it on a New Thought perspective. I'm just going to put it on from a spiritual perspective of believing and knowing that we are all individualized expressions of God. Then that has to mean that we are capable of creating our own lives. And whatever life we have is the one we want to create. Because if we didn't want to create it, we have the power to change it and create something different. So whatever life you're showing up with, I'm going to have to assume that's the life you want. Until you ask a question and say, how are you doing that? I really admire or like how you do this, that, or the. Can you share that with me? Then it's open and it's wide, and then it's loving each other. It's helping one another. It's loving each other. But before that, it's like, did I ask? Did I? What happened?
Don't tell me what to do.
Don't do it. I feel like a child. Because even if I hear that it's good and I know it's good, I'm just automatically resistant. Don't tell me.
Yep.
It's as somebody said, I can't even know who said it, but it's redonkulous. It's redonkulous.
Another paradigm for me, and it's interesting because my siblings and I did not talk about any of this stuff when we were.
Don't you love it? And yet,
up in it, never did. But as adults, we have all come back and individually said, my motto was expect the worst. And then if it doesn't happen, you'll be pleasantly surprised. But if it does happen, at least you'll be prepared. It won't take you unawares.
Now you all have it.
We all have it. We all have that. Just don't expect anything good, because it's just going to hurt your feelings when you don't get it. Go ahead and expect the worst.
Wow.
And it doesn't mean it's always going to happen. But if the worst happens, you're ready.
You're prepared.
And if the worst doesn't happen, you get to go, oh, well, that's better than I thought it was going to be, until the other shoe drops. That's the other part of that paradigm. And I recognized a few years ago that what that did for me is it made me afraid to truly want things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would go, well, I would like that to happen, but if it doesn't happen, I'm totally fine with it. And, I'm not going to put a lot of energy toward it. I'm not going to think about it too much. And what
Just be pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I finally realized, what is because this is about fear. What is the fear?
It is. It's only love or fear to me.
Yeah. Fear. And I realized the fear was, what if I want it really, really bad and I don't get it? What's the worst thing that can happen? I'll be disappointed. Okay. And then I was like, oh, well, I know how to deal with disappointment.
Okay. That's not so bad. That's not so bad.
I can do that.
I'm a woman with kids. I know what disappointment looks like. I'm all right.
So just putting that paradigm into words, just having it in my own mind. It's like, oh, you're afraid. What are you afraid of? You're afraid of being disappointed. How is being disappointed going to materially affect your life? Oh, you might have to grieve a minute. You might have to put on your big girl panties and walk through it.
But you can handle that.
It's not that big a deal. And once I realized, I can totally handle disappointment. I am absolutely equipped to handle disappointment and to move on with life and to have a happy life. So once I realized that, it's like, well, I can want anything I want. I don't have to be afraid to want things.
Yeah.
I want anything I want.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It wasn't mine.
And some this are better. This are greater. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
This are greater. Because the universe is abundant. I really believe that. I know that for a fact. So.
Absolutely. So what's another paradigm? Anybody?
Yeah. No, I thought I was waiting for. I didn't want to jump in because Kim was like she's going to say something really profound, and I didn't want to I don't want to jump.
Say something really profound, Kim. We're waiting.
No pressure, no
No
pressure.
pressure there.
Well, I was thinking about that, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that was, so I was always prepared, like you said, for disappointment because I was used to that and I can handle that. It was the happy ending that I was never prepared for and was more unfamiliar with. And so in the beginning, I just dropped the other shoe to drop statement. And I just said, well, it's okay to be happy.
Yes. Just declare that.
And invite it in. Invite in
Yeah.
the happy.
Yeah.
And yes, that's good. So I stopped saying that other thing about the shoe dropping and that, it's okay to be disappointed. And then, if it doesn't happen, then of course, then you feel good about things. Well, I didn't want to live from that end of the spectrum.
Exactly.
So yeah, like you said, I just dropped the negative statement, the one that was no longer serving me.
Yeah.
Right.
Or that I decided would no longer never served me before, but now I just thought I'm going to stop.
But now you woke up. You woke to it for whatever reason. You woke to it. Yeah, just woke.
And then
to it.
I thought, well, let's bring in the happy.
Yeah. How about that?
Be excited about things, and like you said, if I'm disappointed, yeah, I know how to do that. But
What if I'm not?
everything is possible. So why can't good things happen?
Yeah.
And
Why can't we invite it in?
And the shift was gradual. I mean, in the beginning, I was pretty unsure about it, so it probably took some years for that to really, tune in. And then when I got to New Thought Principles, then I thought, oh, this swings the door open for me.
Yes. Yes.
Then I had some tools to use to help me to stay and to create more of a paradigm for my life and other parts of my life. So was that profound enough? Oh my gosh.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, no, you did, honey. Yeah. You are equal to the task.
Is there a shoe? Is there a shoe? I don't know.
You're a profound thinker.
No shoe? Oh my God.
No shoe at all. No shoe at all. What I'm learning is how powerful this is a paradigm shift for me. How powerful my thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't think it doesn't matter. Like you can just say little things and it doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter the thoughts, because what I'm learning now. I knew it, I understood it, but I didn't put it in a place where I could pull it up and say, this is how it works. This is how it works. So whenever I'm feeling something, I can look back and go, why are you feeling that thing? What were you just thinking? Because the thoughts that I'm having are coming from something that I'm feeling. And when I have thoughts and then I have feelings, then that's what I'm moving from. I'm moving from those things into an action. And so I'm thinking, okay, so if I can go back and think, okay, what are you thinking about? That's how, because the question people ask is, how do you do a paradigm shift? How do you do a paradigm shift? Well, you're unhappy with the results that you're getting in your life. And you start looking back from the results. Mm-hmm. So for instance, my mother, and I'm going to go back to how it came out and then my shift in it. My mother always, and she showed us this. There were examples of this. This came true in her life. So I knew the power of her thoughts to bring this to life. She always said that God may not show up when you want God to show up, but God's always on time. That was her mantra. What that looked like in her life was that you couldn't have a cabinet full of food. You couldn't have a refrigerator that was full. You couldn't have a closet that was full. But if you were about to start starving, if you didn't have anything to put on the table, food would show up. Somebody would knock on your door and present you with some food. And it happened for us over and over and over again. So as I was thinking about that and looking around and seeing how many people had houses, refrigerators, things full of things, how does that happen? How does this happen or that happen? That has to be directly due to what my mother is calling in. So as I'm talking to Spirit, I said, you know what, Spirit, I know and I've seen you pull my mom and our family back from the brink. How about this? How about I get nowhere near the brink? I'm sick of a brink. I don't want to see a brink. I want to stand on the mountaintop. Bring me that. That's the life I want. And that was a conscious choice to not accept going all the way to a miserable place before I'd allow Spirit to help me. So that's a shift. I wasn't happy with the results. I don't want to live like this. I want to live better. There's no reason why not. And that begins for me, that particular thing. And then when you realize that, you get to look around and go, okay, what else? What else am I brinking? Brinking. What else am I doing? How else am I living my life on the brink? That's why this is an important topic for me, because as you said, the whole other shoe, all of us do, waiting for the shoe to drop. Don't be too happy. So you're living a life not filled with joy, which is what we're here to do. I'm living a life on the brink, and understanding and looking at those paradigms, we have the power to do that and shift it back over to wherever it is we want. So we're getting close to probably having a break. And yeah, I know you want to make a comment, so maybe come back. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying it's
Mel?
time for a break.
Yeah. Okay.
And here we are back again. So it's interesting to me what you were saying, Pjae, about looking at the results and then extrapolating back from the results. So that was the result. So what was the cause? Because
Exactly.
we can never change things at the level of result. We always have
Absolutely
to
not.
change things at the level of cause.
And cause comes, I think, starts with your thoughts, what you're thinking about it, what you're calling in. And so you have to be able to look at your thoughts, because you're like, what do I think about? So if you look at the results and you're not happy with it, you have to start thinking about what is my thoughts about that result? What are my thoughts about that? And start going backwards from there. How did I get there? Why is that acceptable? What thought did I have to make that acceptable? And so we're just deconstructing that result.
Yeah. So I call that what you were talking about for years in my life. I have called it subsistence consciousness.
I love it.
You hear about subsistence farming. You grow only enough food to eat.
Yes.
I had subsistence consciousness. I believed that I deserved to have enough.
Deserving.
I didn't believe that I deserved to starve. I didn't believe that I deserved to not have a car to drive or not be able to get to work or to be abjectly unhappy.
Yes.
And for years, that was my goal, is just to not be too unhappy, to be not in such pain all the time.
I love it. There's a negative in front of your desires. Like I can't go straight to the desire. It's like not be as much of this, not be as much of that.
One day,
wow. I love it.
And I heard myself and I went, what if my goal wasn't to be pain-free, but my goal was to be joyful?
How about that? What would happen then?
How about joyful? How about full of joy rather than the absence of pain became my goal? And amazing how things shifted. Once I made that, decisions that had been hard to make became easier to make, because they were about, wait, I don't know if this is going to get me out of pain. No, is this going to bring me joy? Or is this going to put me in a position to accept the joy that comes?
Yes. Yeah. I love that.
Able to receive joy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 Because all of that thinking that we've had before, then there's an ability to, once it comes, can you receive it? Yeah. So there's some underlying work when we're changing our thinking, and when the joy comes, not be pushing it back. Oh, I'm not used to that, because we're not used to it.
Absolutely.
So it's all of those things. And when it does come, the joy comes, and you think, wait, what's that? And at the beginning you may not be used to it, but very quickly you can get used to joy. Very quickly. Oh, I recognize you. Come on in. Yeah, exactly.
So a paradigm that's occurring to me that our country is in right now is that this either or paradigm. It's or it's that. It's either win or it's lose. You either agree with me or you're my enemy.
Yes.
You either completely do what I want you to do, or we're all doomed. And
There's no compromise.
There's no compromise. We've started to believe that paradigm that it's either or, and it's never been either or. It's always been both and, always been both and we don't always get exactly what we want, but that's not, thank God I don't always get exactly what I want, because I don't always in every moment have the wisdom to know what the best thing for me is. I don't have the wisdom.
All of us, if you think about the three of us, when we're just talking about topics, we're just a simple thing like topics. What do we want to talk about? We don't just, one of us just throw a topic, just throw a topic out and start talking. We all think about that. Is that on your heart? How's that feeling? Do you have some experience with that? Do you have some? So, and then when we do that, it's a much better show. It's a much better conversation that we have, because we all have something to say about that. And if it's not time for all of us, we could just say, oh, I don't have much to say about that. Let's set that aside and see what builds for me, or what grows for us. That's how the country has been. It's like everybody doesn't get their way. But if all of us get some part of it and some understanding and some agreement, then we have the country that we're looking for. We have the country that we're looking for.
There's
that we built.
A paradigm that there is a right way.
Right.
And
a right way.
Not the right way is the wrong right way.
Yeah.
That there is when, maybe there's just the steps we take together in love and respect, and see where that leads us, because steps taken in love and respect will lead us to love and respect.
They will.
Steps taken in fear and in conflict will lead us to fear and conflict.
Exactly. And this country is built on plurality, that we can have more than one idea. We can hold more than one idea. We can move forward with more than one idea. It was built on that. That's why we have so many religions, so many talks, so many languages. We don't need one. We don't need one religion. We don't need one language. We don't need one idea. So for me, the concern for me is losing the whole thing that we were built on, is accepting all different ideas at once, different ways of being at once. That's what we're about, plurality. And it's like we don't even remember that anymore. We're losing our memory of it. Fortunately, we do have history books, not all of them written correctly, but still.
But I think under that, in order for that to happen, and that's what happens in the micro can happen in the macro. But for the three of us, the reason why we work together is because we're open to each other. There's a level of trust there. And we also know that when we come together, we're greater than the sum of our parts. And we don't take it personally if somebody else comes up with another idea. Right now, in politics and around politics, everything is so intensely personal for people, and they get very offended about things where really there just might be another idea. And how about if I listen to your idea? Because it might build on mine. And how about if we try something, and there are many ways to shift and go in another direction if we need to. Yeah. But how about if we try this, and like you said, maybe bring up some ideas that all of us from all sides, there really are no sides, but from all sides, and come up with a possibility that may serve as many people as we can serve, and go from there. And yet we're not there. We used to be there. We used to have two parties, and people from opposite parties were friends, were colleagues,
discuss it, talk about it,
deep friendships like we do. And if they could have discourse about their differing opinions and come to an agreement.
Yes.
And move forward with it, because really what they wanted was the good of the country. And I think we've lost that. Really, I
really do. I believe that too.
Like people just want what's good for them or their side.
Yes. And that's what's frightening to me, is that it's now about that. It's about my side. And even the leadership. The leadership is about their group, as opposed to the leadership of the country. And everybody that's in this country is not necessarily in your group, in your political group. So what happened to that? It's just
national paradigm, right?
And bring it back down into the micro, because I can't do anything about what they're doing. But
not
how
at all.
That show up in my life in such a way that the ripples spread out.
Correct. I was having a conversation with a woman a few days ago, and she was concerned about something. I don't have school age kids, so I don't really know what's going on. But anyway, it came back to her not understanding the binary situation. And so I was talking to her about Rev Deb, because she had a couple of workshops about that, explaining the binaries. And it was a really beautiful workshop. I really got a great idea. So I was sharing this woman some of the ideas that I didn't understand that this woman who lives this could understand. And when I would tell her something that Deb says, then she would come back and say, "Oh, so she doesn't understand." And I said, "No, no, no, she understands. This is her understanding, though, of what she's going through, and people such as that are experiencing what she experiences, what they're going through." And I would say something else, and then she'd come back and say, "Oh, okay, so they don't understand." No, 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 you don't understand. It's their life, and they're explaining what they're living through. You don't have to know or have experienced it to listen and try to understand what they are dealing with, because you are 100%. If you look at a color wheel and let's say it's blue, it's absolutely blue at the top, and then you start going down and it gets lighter and lighter, so it's pale blue, and it goes to whatever lighter until it's a different color on the top end of the color spectrum. Well, that's what Deb was talking about with the binary thing. It's you start here and it's all male. You start here at the bottom, it's all female, but it goes down the color wheel or the whatever until you've got this feeling that you're both. And so again, you don't understand it because you're at the top or the bottom of the wheel. So you're very clear. There's no within you different feelings within you. And so but to get her to
put them down so you don't have to think about them.
Okay. So it just was interesting to have that conversation and just have that person keep coming back with, "Oh, so they don't understand." No, they're very clear. They're very clear. What they're trying to do is to get us who are not clear to understand.
Yeah.
So these are the conversations I think that we're having, and that it's incumbent upon us who, whether we're living it or not, we're trying to understand someone else's life to help get those stories out there and get the understanding going, and even have a willingness to understand, or to at least acknowledge that this is happening for you or whoever it's happening for. So that's just, it's interesting.
It's always different when you have to start walking through something. I mean, it's cool to have your theories about things.
That part.
When you're standing on the outside, but as soon as you have to live something
and have the reality of it show
very
up.
real, then I think that's the prime time for a paradigm to shift, when you go, "Oh, this is what this looks
wait a minute. Yes.
This is what this looks like."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
There's very few positions to be in that are more dangerous than the position of absolute 100% certainty. Certainty is scary shit, because that means you've closed your mind. You're not open to new information.
Correct.
I think that's where a lot of us are. Nope. I'm this party. This is what I believe. And I don't want to see anything succeed that was brought about by a different party. I don't want to see anybody else's point of view. And, if we can let go of our certainty and go, there are so many things that I don't know anything about. So how about if I just listen? What if I listen and get more information? Curiosity, I think, it will be the most important ingredient to paradigm shift in our country, is if we can start looking at others with curiosity rather than with certainty of who we are and certainty that they are not the same as us.
And part of what.
Tell me about that. How does that feel? Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Part of the ability to walk through this and because when you're talking with somebody, you don't really know where they're going to go with it. So it's fearful. It's fearful for you. You don't know how the other end is going to, am I going to understand this? If that's going to be acceptable to me? Am I going to be able to relate to it, live with it, deal with it, whatever it is that you're talking about? It's not got to necessarily do with politics or somebody's sexual orientation, whatever it may be that you are trying to understand. If the spiritual aspect of my life, the spiritual aspect of knowing that spirit is in all of us, and that there is a desire for me and to be your brother and sister, to know that we're in it together. If that is a desire for me, then it overcomes and overshadows any fear that I might have of what it is I'm going to discover. Because that's part of discovery. That's part of the fear of walking down the road to discovery. What the heck what are these cans of worms I'm going to be opening up? Because I've had them in this nice little can, and I know where they are, and I know how many's in there, and I think I know how many's in there, and they're sitting really nicely on the shelf there. Now you want me to take them down, open it up, and go. And so we're really asking for people to trust that it's going to be a wonderful experience in the end. That it may be something that you're going to go through that you don't know exactly how it's going to work out. That is the part I think of the spiritual journey. You don't know how it's going to work out. What you do know is that it's going to work out. That's the thing that I cling to. It is going to work out. It has to, because we're all divine. It's all divine. It has to work out. So there really is no reason to fear, but fear has no reason. It has no reason. So there's no reason. Yeah.
The idea that if you open up certain cans of worms, it might make you have to shift your paradigm in which you're already really comfortable and entrenched.
Very comfortable with that. I know how to do that. Even if it's something that's hurting for you, even if it's something that doesn't work that well, yeah. It's how you know it. I know how to do this. I know how to work in this pain. Mm-hmm. I know how to do that. And just the idea of even that the pain can be released, yet could be worse too. So, yeah. And so that's the journey that we're on. That's the leap of faith that we're taking. And it ends up being, to me, all the time, this a faith walk, and trusting that I'll come out exactly the way I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to know on the other side. We're going to evolve, whether we evolve painfully or we evolve easily or whatever. We're going to evolve. That's the whole thing about life. It's a constant evolution of the world, of us individually, everything. It evolves. And trying to hang on to it, it's a waste of time.
So, Kim, you're the quiet one. What do you think?
Can I record that and play to my husband later?
Want to say it again?
I'm sorry, Kim who? I'm listening and kind of thinking at the same time, but I think that's why it's important that we know what our foundation for life is. But even our foundation for life, like you were saying, can shift or evolve because something is changing. And so I think the path to peace always is knowing that you're going to be having to trust in yourself, that I am going to be okay, even if the ground underneath me shifts. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to know who you are.
Yes. And
on what ground do you stand? And even if that shifts, am I still going to be okay? So right. I know I've spent enough time, and I do think about these things, that who am I? And I know that I'm a fighter. I know that I know I have a good mind. I know I'll figure something out. So I may have to sit for a bit with something and meditate on it, but I know that something will come to me and I will be okay, even if everything else shifts. Because I've thought about what happened if my husband died suddenly. Of course, I would be in some deep emotional pain, but would I be okay? Would I be able to not just subsist from that time, but could I have a real life? If a tornado came through and blew our house away, would I still be not just subsist, but be able to thrive again? What if my spiritual community asked me to leave and just said, you know what, we're done with you? You think everything's going along well, and I do, but what if they came to me tomorrow and said, I'm sorry, we're done? Yeah. Well, I'm on a vacation, but I do need a day off. But what would I go through? Would I still be okay? Could I still thrive in life if all of a sudden that left my life? Yes. And so I spend time thinking about that, and who am I and what enables me? What is it within me that enables me to get back on my feet, even though the ground has shifted and I might be off center a little bit? How do I right myself again?
Yes.
How do I center and get grounded again? What am I grounded in? And so I know that I can't be grounded in anything that's of this world.
Hello.
Everything in this world can shift.
At all.
Everything in this world can shift.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the only thing go ahead.
That all suffering is caused by holding on to things that change.
Yeah.
All suffering is caused by holding on to things that change. So it's helpful when you're, looking at, can I survive that? Will I be able to, as you say, live a whole life? I think it's helpful to look back at what we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I thought that was going to kill me.
Yeah.
I thought I couldn't make it through that. And here I still am.
Here I am.
And to take a look at how did I, and in my life, every single time it's been a spiritual answer. How I got through it is I called on spirit, and I relied on spirit as spirit showed up in my own mind, in my own life, in my own heart, but also as it showed up with skin on, the expressions of spirit around me that were there to support me, in friends and in family. And knowing that you've done it once and knowing you can do it again, there's a real freedom in that.
Yes, there is.
Freedom in it.
Yeah, there really is.
A time, I think, because I know I've been through this, something will happen that I've judged as devastating. And I might be on my knees, literally on my knees in tears, crying and letting all that go, and then saying, okay, I surrender totally to spirit in this. And then I get quiet and I go into meditation, and still the tears might still be flowing, but I'm there and I'm immersing myself, becoming more aware of the spirit that was always there and was with me as I was on my knees.
Always there.
Yes.
Was always with me, was there when the incident occurred.
Yes.
And then as I'm crying and emoting, and then when I'm sitting here saying, okay, I'm open. What now? Now?
What now? What's mine to do now?
My next step.
What's ours to do now is to take a short break.
Yeah. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about, or bring up to us, all of us, what essentially, because we said, who are you? So I want to know, who is the essential you? How do we know what the essential you is that we keep coming back to? As we take a break. Thank you. We are back.
Like funky during the break.
He did. I love that little funky bass finger going thump, bass thump, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, okay.
I think there's a wah-wah pedal in there and stuff.
Yay. So we're just talking about, before we went to break, we're just talking about knowing essentially whatever happens, you come back to knowing. We talked about spirit. That's that's always there with us and going to bring us back through and all of that. One of the things that I know that have worked for me, and I look back on my earliest experiences with spirit, of knowing that spirit was guiding me through, knowing that. And I was just a kid, but I didn't know it was spirit. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was true. And I knew it was guiding me and it was telling me the truth. And I even remember asking, how do you know that? And I just said, well, you just do. Just go ahead. And I was a kid. I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 knowing that. And it came to me all the time. But the essential, I think it's important that we say essentially who we are. When I say that, I'm talking about what matters to us. What are the principles or the truths about our lives? And I think all 3 of us said it. I don't want to speak for you, but I think we all 3 said it. The first thing was spirit is always there. It's for me, it's always returning to spirit and asking for guidance and knowing that it's always that. It's always love. Love guides me through, and it's with me. The love that's here now, the love of you guys, the love of my community, of my family, the love of the people who came before me and who came before all of us, and on whose love and works and purpose we stand on. And we are able to do what we can do now because of them. So there's all this gratitude for that, for those people and for that love. So I know that's essentially me. I'm going to always talk to God. I'm going to always know about love. I'm going to always have courage to speak the truth. And so how do we discern? How do you all discern what the essential you is that you always go to and know is you? And when that is there and foundationally available to you, you know that everything's going to be all right, no matter how dark it looks, no matter how long you've been on your knees, and no matter how many tears have been flowing for how long, you still know that eventually I'm going to come back out to the light and find my evolving self.
So I think, once I started having a working spirituality, it was about spirit, and that even when the fact that I was on my knees or surrendering or in deep sorrow or whatever, or deep anger, whatever it was, that didn't negate the fact that I'm still a spiritual being, and that spirit is that I live and move and have my being in that spirit. But before then, I know, and I remember the stories my mother used to tell me about me as a little girl and stuff like that. I always knew somehow, even as a little girl, that even if I get knocked down, I'm getting back up. I did that when I was little, from my mother's and father's stories about me. I knew that as a teenager. I knew that even when my life was in chaos, before I ever got to how I'm living now, I always knew you might knock me down, but I'm getting back up, and I'm going to get up and stronger than I was before I got knocked down.
Yes.
Because anything else is unacceptable to me. So I think I was born with that. That came in my DNA.
I think you're right.
And then somehow that shifted to that thing in me was always spirit. I just didn't know that.
Correct.
I didn't have a frame of reference for that as a little girl in my, my 20s, even my 30s, before I got to New Thought. So, but there was always a spirit. And I think every human being has that spirit, because we're always being called to life. Always. Our bodies do that. Our bodies are called for self-preservation. I think we're wired for life, but I don't think we always know that. So that's where I always got mine from. But yeah, right now, the understanding that this is, I have this inexhaustible, unlimited spirit that is me. And I have access to everything that is in divine consciousness. So even if 250 things don't work out, there's 251, number 251, that's right there, waiting for me.
Yeah, gonna work out. Yeah, and there's that confidence in knowing that.
Yeah, and I really just need the next step.
Yeah.
And so the essential me has always been spiritual. I didn't always call it that. I just knew that I had this fighting spirit to get back up after being knocked down.
Yes. And that you would be carried, that you would know, you'd have some, you knew this about you. You were, I don't know, actually have the words for it, but you just simply have this sense of knowing that whatever knocked me down, I'm going to get back up stronger, as you said, evolved, stronger. I'm not going to stay here. I'm not allowed to stay here. Not going to be left alone to stay here.
And that might have been a generational thing. That might have been my family. That might have come from messages I heard, but it didn't register. I just knew that. Could have been in my DNA. I don't know.
Don't know. I know. Just know it's there.
So I found it's useful if I want to know what paradigm I'm living from, I have to look at the way I'm showing up in the world, because what I believe or what I say I believe, if it's not showing up in how I show up, then I've got a different belief going on besides the one that I say I believe.
Correct.
And so we always have to go and look at, so what are the results? How am I showing up? How am I showing up? How am I serving? How are people receiving me? That's not about trying to please people, but it's about having an awareness of the power that we have in our relationships with others in the world, the power that we carry with us. And I would say, interestingly, from a child, I mean, I think I have that. You're going to get back up again, because I just think I have that. Well, what's the other alternative?
What's the alternative? Yeah. What's the alternative? Yeah. Not staying down here.
From early childhood, my knowing that it was good and that I had this great compassion and love for other people, that for some reason I was able, even as a really little girl, to see the other side of the story and not just how it affected me, but to put myself in another's shoes, which now I would call that compassion, empathy and compassion. I didn't know what it was, but I think I was born with that being pretty easy for me. And the way what my family called it was tenderhearted. Melinda's so tenderhearted. There she's crying again. She's so tenderhearted. But that has always served me, that I'm never wrong to feel someone else's pain.
Yeah.
I'm never wrong to love, even when I'm not getting love in return. The world would tell you that that's wrong, but somehow I knew, even from very early childhood, no, it's never wrong. It doesn't matter what they do. It only matters
what you do,
what I do. And it's not wrong to love ever, regardless of what's coming back at you. And
correct. Because we're not loving to get. You're not loving to get. You're loving to love. Just love.
And it's a guiding principle in my life, that I don't have to look at what the other guy's doing. I can just look at what I'm doing. And I don't even have to say, well, what's the result? The result is that I'm a person that when I go to bed with me at night, I love who I am. And when I look in the mirror, I feel good about me. And when I get up in the morning, I feel good about who I am. And that means a lot more to me than winning. It means a lot more to me than earning or engaging or, getting what I want. What I want is to be who I am, is to show up as love in the world. And if I'm doing that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we all go down in Armageddon. Right. If I'm being who I'm meant to be in this world, which is love, then I'm good. And I just know that. I absolutely always know that, regardless of what's going on out there.
Beautiful. And you said something right there. You said, if I'm winning, you should use the word winning. And the thing is that with people, everybody has their opinion. We started opening the show talking about that, or maybe we were talking backstage anyway, about what that looks like, about everybody having an opinion and a thought and stuff like that. But winning is what it means to you, and for you, winning. I'm speaking. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Means being the one who's compassionate and feeling other people, and not just walking in the world for you, but walking in the world conscious of the fact that other people are walking in the world too. And they need and deserve help and compassion and love and all of that. And that's what you're willing to give. So that's winning for you. Doesn't look the same for other people.
It's not letting what goes on out there change who I am in here.
In here, exactly. That's a win. That you stay consistently true to you.
When they are worried about, what do you do with all this hate in the world? There's so much hate. Hate never has won and never will win until the moment you let it win in you. It doesn't matter if it's Eden everywhere else. If hate has won in you, then you're living in hate. If hate hasn't won in you, then love still has won. And I just believe that with every fiber of my being.
Yeah. One of the things that I looked at for my life was why, and I'm still not clear about it. I think just what you said, Pam, maybe I was just born with it. Like you said, you got knocked down and you knew you were going to get back up. For me, bullying, for some reason, was a big deal. I simply would not and could not allow anyone around me to be bullied, even if I wasn't a fighter, even if we both went down. You know what I mean? It wasn't about winning the fight. It was about being on that person's side and say, no, you don't get to walk over this person, not in my presence. We're going to have to walk over the two of us. And many times they did, but that's all right. That wasn't the point. And so there's something within me that just won't allow myself to be bullied. I won't. I have to stand up for me and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves or won't stand up for themselves. There's something about that. And so that's mine to do in the world. And I own that. I take it, I own it, and I'm good with it. That's one of the ways in which I show love, that I care about what's happening to you, and I will not allow you to walk alone. I'll be by your side regardless. And that's just the way it is. That's essentially who I am. And that's a part of what I think love looks like. I think love looks like caring about people, about recognizing that they have their human walk just like I do. And I don't have a right, or no one has a right to judge it and say that it is what it is. It is what it is. And if I can walk with you, I will if you'll let me. If you won't, I'm okay with that too. But I know who you are. I know who all of us are. We're individual expressions, and I'm going to act like I know that. That's important to me. That's the essential of who I am, me, to walk in love, to walk in letting you know that you're not alone, anyone, you're not alone, to have the courage to stand up to what is right, stand up for what is right, to stand up to what is being done wrong. That's mine to do. And I'm going to essentially always show up that way until there's no more me to show up. That's it. That is the essential me. And I think it's important to know that. And if I show up like that, then I'm happy. If I show up like that, if I don't give myself up for other people, then I'm happy. And knowing who you are is how you know whether or not you are giving that up. You have to know who you are and stand for that.
Well, we got about 2.5 minutes.
Okay, well, I said my last little bit.
I think we need to continue this next week.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're through with it because we really haven't gotten to discovering empowering paradigms and things like that. We could easily do an hour on that.
Right.
So, yes.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote down some notes and I can put them on the website. Some of the things we talked about, at least with shifting and releasing, is have a willingness to be open, to know who you are and what do you stand on, and to start recognizing our patterns of thought, patterns of speech. Where did things come from? And being curious.
Yes.
Being curious about all that.
Yes. And I think it's just recognizing if something is not working for you, if some behavior you're doing is not working for you, doesn't seem to be you, that's a place to examine whether there's time for a paradigm. So what's the paradigm around that? Why are you showing up in that way? What's in your history that has who is that yours? Is that your paradigm or someone else's? The country, whose is that? And then you can shift it from there. Okay, it's not mine. So that's something else I think we talked about. Yeah. So there's, unfortunately or fortunately, I think it's fortunate, but some people might say it's unfortunate. When you're on this spiritual walk, you're always walking. There's never any resting going on because there's always so much to learn, so much to know, so much to be. And I love that. I don't get tired of that.
Because everything can be an opportunity for growth. Yes.
Which a fog?
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in the dentist chair one day and I thought, what? I can't even come in and have a dental procedure and I'm having a spiritual experience right here? Really?
Exactly
You're
correct.
the dentist?
Really?
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
everywhere you are.
Yeah.
Everywhere you are. There, everywhere you go, there you are. Yes.
There's the rub, right?
Okay. Everywhere you go, there you are.
Thank you, ladies. I love you.
I
I
love
love
you
you
too.
too.
Yeah.
We are at realtalksisters@gmail.com if you want to email us, and realtalksisters.com is the website. Thank you very much. And we thank our producer, Zoe, who is the best in the world.
The best there is. It's
Thank you,
very
Zoe.
proactive, very responsive. Thank you, Zoe.
And we are out.
Sisters out.